This is The Weekly Set, the official podcast of TVEnthusiast.com. Episode 91, recorded January 19th, 2017. Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Weekly Set, the official podcast of TVEnthusiast.com. I am your host and the editor-in-chief of TV Enthusiast. My name is Tyson, and joining me today, as always, is our keeper of comics here at TVE, Will.
Hello.
Today, we're going to be talking about Man-Seeking Woman. Will finally got started on Season 2, so we're going to talk a little bit about that. I'm going to go through rapid fire some of the shows that have come back or debuted in the past couple months. Then we're going to talk about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D, the last two episodes since it's come back in January. And lastly, we're going to be talking about Taboo, the new series from Tom Hardy on FX. After that, we'll just go through what shows are coming up in the next week. So let's get started. Man-Seeking Woman. So I could barely even find a description of this episode, and it's been a while, and I didn't want to spoil anything for you by talking about something that happened halfway through the season. You watched the first episode, right?
Yes, I watched the first episode of Season 2 of Man-Seeking Woman. Gotta say, loved it. It's funny, I recognized his girlfriend from 1968 or whatever that James Franco show was called.
Oh, the 11/22/63.
Yeah. I was never gonna remember that title. But yeah, but no, yeah. It was funny. It was classic Man-Seeking Woman. The conceit for the episode was now that he had a girlfriend, he wasn't spending enough time with his bro. I think what I think about that is my favorite part was at the end when he goes with his girlfriend to her cabin and it turns into a horror movie where they're all being hunted by an undead lumberjack. And
now I remember this episode.
Yeah, they're all being hunted by an undead lumberjack, and it's funny because they're like, oh my god, he's back, and then the one guy is like, we're all gonna die, and then Josh is like we're gonna die, and then he's like, no, we're gonna die, not you.
Yeah, because he was separating what we are as a group from him. Yeah. Don't include yourself in this.
Don't include yourself in this. And then Josh is doing a puzzle, and then the undead lumberjack comes in ready to kill him, and he just goes, oh, but who are you? And he's like, oh, I'm this girl's new boyfriend or something. And he's like, oh, okay. Or it's like, oh, nice to meet you. And then he just leaves and goes look for the other people to kill.
Yeah, I remember this now. That was hilarious. Yeah.
and then they break up, and Josh goes back to his best friend, and they have a daughter. It's like, we have a daughter? Wait, when did that happen? And he's like, remember, we both jizzed in the same toilet, and then lightning struck it, and then lightning struck it. He's like, and that made a person?
It's a superhero origin story of their daughter. So you're enjoying Season 2 so far, it sounds like.
Yeah, it's off to a great start. So, yeah, definitely.
There's some great episodes I can't wait to talk to you about, so we're going to have to revisit this as you continue to watch it, because there's some ones that I was dying to talk to you about last year.
Yeah, because
I think the second or third one was one I thought was hilarious, too.
I'm so glad I can finally get back to watching the show. You don't know how disappointed I was when I finished the episode, the last episode of Season 1, and then I'm like, yay, Season 2's on Hulu, and wait, it's locked to my cable provider that Hulu doesn't support? What? Why? No. Yeah, that was horrible.
Typical cable authentication bullshit.
And then I kind of just forgot the show existed, and now now it's available to me. It probably has been for a while, but yay. Glad to be watching.
Just before Season season 3 started, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So season 3 is currently airing.
So glad to finally be able to watch it.
Yeah, it's going to be fun discussing that with you. There's some ones coming up that I'm like, that's going to be fun to talk about. But I'm going to move on. Let's talk about some of the stuff that's been coming up in the last couple of weeks. I watched Trollhunters. Did you get a chance to see that?
No? What was that?
That's that CG animated series from Guillermo del Toro on Netflix.
Oh, jeez, I totally forgot that was a thing. No, I didn't. I didn't watch anything on Netflix before US. So,
okay.
Yeah, nothing new on Netflix that I have seen lately.
So Trollhunters is okay.
And there are things to watch on Netflix now. There's Trollhunters, there's One Day at a Time, and there's the new Lemony Snicket series. So
plus there's like Travelers and the OA. There's been quite a bit, yeah.
Yeah, there's been quite a bit.
Netflix still flooding the market.
Yeah, pretty much.
So Trollhunters is it's done by DreamWorks, and so unfortunately it has those annoying DreamWorks isms throughout it, like the DreamWorks face, you know, that like weird raised eyebrow, like non-emotion weird face that like every character in a DreamWorks movie does. So you see that a lot. The fight scenes are pretty garbage because of it. The main thing I could think of while watching this is I wish it was more Del Toro and less DreamWorks. Del Toro's involvement seemed to be very limited. I think he wrote a book that this is like based on, and then he consulted, and that was it. But yeah, I mean, it's fairly fun. If you're okay with like DreamWorks movies and stuff, it gets a little bit more in depth because it's a TV series and has a longer run. So there's more stuff that happens through the course of it. It's okay. It's got, you know, a few, good people involved in it. Kelsey Grammer's in it, and he doesn't phone it in at all. He's like super, like, just really gets into the role. It's really cool. Anton Yelchin was in this. He's the actor from Star Trek that passed away last year when his car like kind of rolled into him. If you remember that, right before like Beyond came out. He voiced the main character, so I don't know what they're gonna do for season 2 because obviously he's passed away and they don't have anything recorded for him for that. But yeah, I mean, it's an okay show. I'd recommend watching the trailer and you kind of get a good idea of what it is. Just don't expect too much more than that. I also watched a little bit. I've only seen like the first episode of Travelers, which is like a Canadian series that's on Netflix that's about people that go back in time because there's some kind of like global extinction event that happens in the future. And so they go back in time and inhabit the bodies of people right before they were supposed to die. So like they kind of take over their bodies right before those people were supposed to die so that it doesn't interfere with history as much. Although that person still seeming to be alive, I guess, would affect history. But that's kind of the excuse they use. Every time travel story has to have some kind of weird hijink to make it make sense. But yeah, looks like it's going to be pretty good. I'm going to kind of watch that more. I've seen the first 2 episodes of this season of Sherlock. Won't really say what happens because I know Will's behind on it and hasn't seen it yet, and I don't want to spoil it. I will say that the second episode I thought was really good. The first episode, okay, I've heard a lot of bad things about the third episode. I haven't seen that yet, but the second episode, super solid. Loved it. Been watching Beyond on Freeform. That's this new series that they launched, and they put like the same day the first episode came out, they put the entire season up online. I haven't been watching it online. I've just been watching it weekly as it comes out because I'm not so into it that I need to binge it, but it's pretty decent. It's got a pretty good mystery to it, a little bit of weird quirks to it. It's definitely got a bit of a YA feel, as everything on Freeform does. That's not necessarily a bad thing though, so if you kind of want a better kind of YA type thing, watch the 100. But if you finish that and you want something else that's kind of got a YA feel that's not complete garbage, check out Beyond. It's pretty decent. Been watching season 3 of Man Seeking Woman. Don't really have anything to say about that. Don't want to spoil anything.
Exactly. Don't want to spoil that.
Watched Jeff and Some Aliens on Comedy Central. This is the next show that Comedy Central put out to die as a follow-up to South Park. Like they always have their other animated show on Comedy Central, and it's never even remotely as good as South Park, so it just flops over time. This is kind of like their next one, although it's not next to South Park, that's their next like big comedy cartoon thing they have. It's actually pretty funny. It's funny the way it escalates very quickly. It kind of reminds me of some of the animated shows that were on MTV, like back in the 90s. Like, do you remember The Head on MTV?
Vaguely?
The guy had the giant head and it split open and an alien came out of it.
Jesus, this is like, okay, vaguely. This sounds familiar.
That's kind of what it reminds me of, like the kind of comedy in it, I guess. So it's pretty decent. Good Place still good on NBC. Lethal Weapon still better than it has any right being. Lemony Snicket, a series of fortunate events, pretty good. Little like preachy in that like teacher kind of way, which is very intentional. So it's not like a flaw of the series, but it definitely makes the series skew a bit younger. So I mean, obviously it's based on a children's book, so it's going to skew younger, but it's got these kind of like little bits that are they're kind of cute, funny, but like in a very young way. So I don't know. Some people are probably not going to like that aspect of it, but it's decent. Definitely Neil Patrick Harris is great in it. Art direction is great. That's pretty much it. Those are the shows that have been kind of going on in the last, in December and January that I've been catching up through. So let's move on now. Let's talk about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So we've seen 2 episodes. We're not going to break it into 2 episode discussions. We're just going to talk about kind of the general storylines going on right now.
I just want to talk about the general story. I don't really want to discuss 3 hours of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. because yikes. Just because I'm not too enamored of the current storyline so far.
That's right what I was going to ask you, is what you thought of the LMD storyline.
I wish we had Ghost Rider back. That was far more compelling than this LMD
I think the actor signed on for more episodes, so he is coming back this season.
They said, they basically admitted it was cut short because they didn't have the budget to do a full season of Ghost Rider, which is fair, but this whole decoy thing is kind of lame, so I'm like,
They should really just reduce Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. to a 13 episodes a season show.
Right, exactly. This is one of those instances where having a full 23 episode, it just wears on the show, reduces the quality. They could have done really good 13 episode Ghost Rider arc, ended it right about the last episode, and you would have been like, damn, that was some damn good season of S.H.I.E.L.D.
There's still some cool stuff going on.
This isn't awful by any means.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still cool. It's just, it's
still probably better than the stuff going on in the Arrowverse.
Yeah, it's still much better than the Arrowverse. I like the revelation with Jeffrey Mace. He's not an Inhuman. He's basically just Captain America light, which I guess you could have figured out because if you ever looked up the comic book version of the character, he wasn't an Inhuman in the comic books either. It was basically, he's like Diet Captain America. And
in the comics, I believe his character doesn't even have powers. He just kind of takes up the mantle.
Right, yeah.
At one point.
He doesn't,
but yeah.
He doesn't have powers here, it turns out. They just gave him a sort of super soldier serum that
based on what Daisy's father used.
Yeah.
So I like the kind of Inhuman tie-ins to the story. Not so much in this most recent episode, but in the last episode, I liked the whole stuff with Senator Nadir and her brother and how that kind of played out, with her basically shooting him in the stomach and then pushing him out of a helicopter.
Yeah. Well, that dude was an idiot. He was they're like, come with us, we just saved you. He's like, go with you or go with my sister and the people who are just trying to kill me. Oh, I'll choose people who are trying to kill me because family or some shit. I don't know. And then surprise.
It's stupid, but there's a lot of people that would probably do that.
Yeah, that's true.
So he gets pushed out. The big surprise reveal for him that we see is that at the bottom of the ocean or wherever he drops.
He goes back into a cocoon.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of that, but yeah. But it was come on, dude. You had to expect that. He's it was so uncomfortable because he calmly gets into a helicopter and he's calmly sitting next to this dude who tried to murder him 10 minutes ago.
Yeah.
It's wait, what?
he had hopes that his sister was going to help work things out. And
yeah.
it's stupid, but like I said, it's something I could see a lot of people actually doing because they're going to trust their family over some strangers, even if the family's trying to kill them and the stranger's trying to save them.
There was a Luke Cage reference. It's all connected.
That was great. This is the most recent episode, yeah.
Yes, there was the Judas bullet at the beginning of the episode, which I thought was weird because they clearly showed a Judas bullet, but then they never named it. They never referred to it by its name, and Daisy didn't even seem to know what the hell it was because she was like asking the guy, she's like, "Where'd you get that? It certainly wasn't from Walmart." and then she made some quips like, well, I don't know, at least not for now, or something like that.
Yeah, it would have been funny if somebody said, "Have you been to Walmart recently?"
I thought they should have at least like mentioned it by name or something, but because I don't think anybody watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. now, they don't know what the hell that just was. Like,
I think almost anybody watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. probably also watched Luke Cage.
That's true, but you can't just assume that. You can't assume. So, but they didn't name it or explain it. So if you're just watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., somebody at the beginning of the episode had a magic bullet that they never bothered to explain to the audience. So that's kind of sloppy. It's like, if you're gonna make the reference, you gotta go all the way.
Hopefully they explain that a little deeper. That would be cool if they kind of made a deeper connection.
Yeah, that would have been cool if they made a deeper connection. But it was nice to actually see a connection between the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and the Netflix shows now. Mm-hmm. However
that's the first
small
we've seen.
That's the first we've seen. That was tiny, but however small that was, that reassured me that this stuff is happening in the same universe.
We've seen movie connections, but those have always, to both series, but those have always come from the series and have never been reciprocated back to the shows from the movies. But we haven't seen the ABC series interact with the Netflix series in any way. So this is the first time we've seen that kind of connection to it. So that's cool.
Yeah, that was really cool. Yeah, because we never seen a connection between the Netflix series and anything else, really. So, it's almost like the Netflix series existed in their own little bubble, just like the TV series in general existed in their own bubble.
Maybe we'll get a Netflix Ghost Rider?
Hopefully. So something as small as seeing that Judas bullet was reassuring to be like, because I smelled it, I was like, that's from Luke Cage. They are connected. S.H.I.E.L.D. does exist in that same universe.
Yeah, that was cool. That was definitely probably one of the core moments of these last two episodes. We got to have a little cool in this last episode between Jeffrey Mace and Coulson and Matt. This
last episode was a really good episode just because it strengthened the relationship between Coulson and Jeffrey Mace, who they've always had like a standoffish type of relationship, just because Jeffrey Mace seemed to be this guy who was in charge of S.H.I.E.L.D. now, who only cared about PR and didn't care about like anything else mostly, or at least that's the way Coulson saw it. Mm-hmm. And now we get this revelation that, he's a bit of a fraud. He's not what he was made out to be. And we get this moment at the end of the episode where Mace is feeling, he's just feeling completely demoralized over being exposed for being a fraud, pretty much. That he agrees to resign and give Coulson his job back as director of S.H.I.E.L.D. And Coulson, stops him and he's like, no, stay in your position. Handle the politics, but let me run ops the way I want to. So
did you catch a little bit about Mace's, Jeffrey Mace's backstory about how he became labeled a hero? That was the explosion that happened in Civil War.
Yeah, they mentioned that like episodes back actually. So it's like, that wasn't a new revelation. That's been known for like a while now.
Another kind of cool connection, and they revealed that not only doesn't he not have powers? But even the kind of heroic status he was given was basically an accident. He tripped. He ended up saving somebody by accident, in the chaos of the situation, and then got credit as this hero, and kind of felt like a fraud and tried to be honest. I kind of like the way they directed that, because they're showing that he's a good guy, but he suffers because he's in kind of denial about his own heroics because he thinks of himself as a fraud.
I really thought that one of the problems with this story, I think this episode really highlighted the problems with the life model decoy storyline they're going with, is like the stuff about Jeffrey Mace and the stuff involving Coulson and Mac and Jeffrey being caught by the watchdogs was much more compelling content than anything that was happening with that LMD story in this episode. It's not that it's done poorly. I can't say like it's done well. There's nothing here that's being done poorly. It's just conceptually it's kind of a lame idea.
Radcliffe is still a really interesting character.
Yeah, well, he's less interesting now that he's just turned into mustache twirling villain. It's I was kind of hoping they wouldn't go there with that character, just because that seemed like it would be such an easy route to go, and I was kind of surprised that they didn't just go there with that character, and then they went there.
He still cares about the characters,
and then they went there, and I'm just kind of like, oh, okay, well, I guess
he's not full mustache trolling though. He's like, I know what's better for you, villain. He's like, what's his name? Ozymandias in Watchmen. He's that kind of villain. Thinks he knows better than everybody else, and is resorting to dangerous things that end up having consequences because of that. But he's not like was it Eli? Was it that was Ghost Rider's uncle that is really just completely self-involved?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. It's still good. The LMD storyline is meh. The Inhuman stuff that's still going on in relation to the Watchdogs and all that stuff, that seems to be the far more interesting story.
Right.
Ghost Rider's supposed to come back. That's going to be exciting when that happens.
Maybe.
Chances of the series coming back for another season, though, not looking so hot, but who knows? Could go on. Ratings have been down, but I'll be kind of sad to see it go, if it goes. What about you?
I'll be sad. Yeah, definitely.
I do quite enjoy the series. It's just, I don't know. I really think it would benefit from a shorter season run. 13 episodes a season, much tighter. It's the same thing with Netflix, though. I wish the Netflix shows were like 10 episodes. The actual Defenders series, I think, is supposed to be like 8, so that should be really tight. That's kind of my biggest complaint about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. right now, is I think it's too many episodes per season. It makes it a little bit loose. And because of that, we went from having this really great Ghost Rider storyline to this kind of, pretty good, LMD storyline. But let's talk about our main show for the week. So we're going to talk about Taboo, the first episode. This is the new series, with Tom Hardy on FX. It comes from Stephen Knight, who was the showrunner on Peaky Blinders. It's basically like in interviews and stuff, it basically came out, that's why Tom Hardy was on Peaky Blinders. Because he went to Stephen Knight and was like, I want you to make this show that I have this kind of vague concept of, but I really want to play a character like this. And Stephen Knight was like, you show up on Peaky Blinders and I'll make the show.
So that's why he was on Peaky Blinders?
Yeah.
That's awesome. And this show is arguably just as good as Peaky Blinders.
I'd argue better. I love the atmosphere, how intimidating Tom Hardy's character, James Delaney, his character's name, is. Like when he enters a room, it just kind of, it like sucks all the air out. I was really impressed with how much of a presence they gave.
Right. He just walks in the room and like everybody's like, oh my god. I found it interesting. Like they said, a lot of the actors in this are people who do a lot of period dramas. Like one of the guys in there, like legit, I remember from like some Jane Austen period piece movie. And so all I could think about was like this kind of reminded me of like Pride and Prejudice or something, except with with Tom Hardy being a badass, like in the middle of it. So like Tom Hardy just wanders into that to be Tom Hardy, and it's awesome.
Well, two of the notable actors that I placed,
nobody knows what to make of him.
two of the other notable actors I placed in the series are actually in Game of Thrones. So
yeah,
played by Una Chaplin.
Yep, and the head of the East India Company was the head of the religion in Game of Thrones. I recognized him immediately. I was like, shit.
And his sister is Una Chaplin, the actress who played Robb Stark's wife.
That's
who was killed in the Red Wedding.
Who was killed in the Red Wedding. She didn't really have a lot of screen time on that show, so I kind of forgot about her.
It's been years too.
It's been years, literal.
So those two showed up from Game of Thrones. Yeah, Jonathan Pryce. My eyes drew right to him and went, "Oh, it's it's the High Sparrow." So the basic story of this series is Hardy's character James. His father dies. Everyone kind of thinks his father was mad. They said he was like late at night, like going out and screaming to like the ocean or something. Tom Hardy's character is basically saying that he was communicating with him. So they have this kind of weird witchy occult kind of thing going on.
Yeah, it's funny, because they mentioned to Tom Hardy, they mentioned when your father was dying, he was calling out to you, and then Tom Hardy replies, "I know, I heard him." Yeah. So
Tom Hardy returns home. His character returns home. Everybody thought he was dead. So the scene where he shows up, everyone's like, "Oh my God!" Like they're just kind of completely taken aback. His sister is just almost having a breakdown at the moment when he shows up. Everyone else is kind of freaking out. You can tell there's this weird mix of loathing him, maybe discriminating against him as being a beast or something, but also desperately afraid of him.
Oh yeah, they're afraid of him. They loathe him. Well, they hate him for various reasons because he doesn't conform to their ideas of what a person in society should conform to. Not by the half of it. He went to Africa. He got himself involved in witchcraft and voodoo, which, to them is all Negro stuff. And you know how the white people felt about Negroes back in that era. So
kind of how they're starting to feel again.
Yeah. They kind of consider him a bastard because he indulges in those practices that they feel aren't fit for a proper white gentleman. His
father also left him a piece of land that on the surface is seemingly without value. It's in America, this piece of land, but it actually does have a lot of value because it's strategically perfectly located on the trade routes that the East Indian Company would be using. And so there's dispute over where this land should be part of between America, Britain, and the East Indian Company, who claims to be on the side of Britain but kind of has their own selfish
they have interest. Yeah, and basically he inherited this land. What they want to do is they want to buy it off of him so that they can control it. Their first instinct is that should be pretty easy. Just make him an offer. But he has his own plans, his own ideas, and he's not going to sell that land off. He has come back with a purpose.
Yeah, and he wants revenge. He suspects his father was murdered. He gets a grave robber basically to help him and basically proves his father was murdered. That he was given, what was it they said, cyanide or something
like that. Some kind of poison.
Yeah, arsenic or something.
Yeah,
he had been poisoned, basically. And so
which jives with all the
he's kind of playing this long-term revenge. It's almost like Count of Monte Cristo, Yeah. Cristo, right? Why am I thinking Count of Monte Cristo? That would be Count of Monte Lard in a bucket. So anyways, it kind of has that like long play revenge vibe is kind of like a big part of the series. Yeah, this takes place soon after the Revolutionary War ended, so there's like a lot of tension between the British and the Americans. You can see that there's some kind of a tension brewing between the East Indian Company and Britain as well. And, you know, just lots of different kind of stuff going on in the background. But it's I don't know, I love the setting of this show.
Like I said, Stephen Knight, so far he's 2 for 2. This is just as much of a winner as Peaky Blinders was.
Yeah.
So yeah, I enjoyed it. You know, I can't wait to go watch episode 2. It is a little bit of a slow burn, but it's like Peaky Blinders. Peaky Blinders is also kind of a slow moving show with a lot of intrigue, a lot of
it's slow, but it's tense.
It's with a lot of tension, a lot of tension and intrigue, which is also very much present here. Again, it's slow, but there's a lot of tension in the air. I mean, just when Tom Hardy's on the screen, like there's just constant tension when that character's on screen. You can feel it as the viewer, and nothing can be happening. He could just be like reciting the ABCs, but it's just his presence that puts you on edge because he's liable to do anything in any scene he's in.
Yeah, he just looks like he could snap and just like kill somebody in front of everybody in like a split second.
Yeah.
Without a thought. You know, I mean, it's just, he's just like always on that edge, which just makes it tense to watch. Part of you's hoping, yeah, snap, kill them, just murder them right now, you know? And the other part's like, no, go for the long haul and, you know, be dignified or something. It's like, but man, it's like he's right on that razor's edge between those two, categories. What did you think about the kind of like little twists they had, towards the end of the episode where they talk about a boy being raised by this kind of, this poor like miller or something that confronts him basically saying that his father hadn't paid him the money to take care of this boy, and that if he hadn't taken care of this boy, the boy would be like in a whorehouse, like servicing men or something.
Yeah, that was like...
What do you think about the kind of identity of this boy? Like, the implication seems to be, like, what they seem to be hinting at, and I don't know if this is the case or not, that this is like the child of him and his sister. That this is like, you know, I mean, to go right with the title of the show, the Taboo, you know, that there's this weird tension between the siblings, you know, and there's all this kind of like ideas of like, you know, with his sister's husband and how much he hates him, and just kind of like the way they introduced that kid and the way that they, you know, he checked on him to make sure he's doing okay, and then they're like, do you want to talk to him? And he's like, no,
not really. Right.
Are you going to come see him again? No.
He doesn't want to be part of this kid's life. I think probably because he doesn't feel like he'd be good for the kid, you know?
Yeah. Who do you think this kid is though? You think it's his kid first off?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's very heavily implied it's his kid. Well, it's more than implied. It's stated it's his kid.
Well, it's either his kid or like his dad's kid. It's like basically it's somebody from one of those two, basically.
I mean, it's only the first episode of the show. I can't even begin to guess who he had sex with if that's his kid. Like, it wasn't his sister, and there are no other eligible women in the show, so...
Are you sure it wasn't his sister?
That's true, yeah. It is kind of implied they have more than a typical brother-sister relationship, isn't it?
Yeah, there's an implication that there's something else going on. The letter she sent him was really strange. Seemed to have all sorts of implications in it. Yeah, there's something else going on below the surface. There's lots of things going on beneath the surface. That's kind of what's so fascinating about the show, is that you're tense and you're on edge, and there's these like sources of tension, these things that are kind of in the background that we as the audience are not privy to.
I think Stephen Knight is a master of just setting up tension and making his viewers feel tense all throughout. I think he does a good job with that.
So what we need Stephen Knight and Stephen S.D. Knight to get together
and make a show.
Yeah.
That just might kill me with its awesomeness. I'd be like, holy shit.
Peaky Spartacus.
Yeah, I'd be like, wow, Spartacus is awesome and much more tense than it was before.
And Peaky Blinders is gory as fuck.
yeah.
So that's pretty much Taboo. Did I oversell it, like when I was saying how excited I was for you to watch that?
I think you did a little bit. I don't even care. I ended up enjoying it. And I didn't think I would enjoy it as much just based off the premise. Like, I guess it could have been like this boring show, but it's not. And I think that's mostly because of the talent behind it.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think you put almost anybody in Tom Hardy's role besides Tom Hardy and it probably doesn't work.
They couldn't sell it. Cause you have to sell him as somebody you'd be afraid of. And Tom Hardy does that because Tom Hardy can play those characters who are unhinged and intimidating and unpredictable.
Yeah, it's that combination of those two. It's that physically imposing, and then at the same time, it's that like super like intellectually sharp like unpredictability. Those two things kind of together. That's what makes it work. Because it's not only could this guy just snap and do something rash in like in a split second, but he would do something spectacular in that time because he's physically imposing as well. So it's kind of like terrifying. It's like, oh my god, he could just probably clear out a room and murder a whole family in one go. And it just seems like he's always on the edge of doing that. Every time he has like a confrontation with somebody, it's almost like, wow, those people are like an inch away from death the entire time they're talking.
Oh my god, when he went into that whorehouse and told that prostitute to get out.
Yeah, and she said, if you don't like girls, I have men too. Men who can break bones and stuff like that.
And she's like, yeah. She thought that would scare him, like, literally.
Yeah, it just had no effect.
No,
and he just said, if you send me 6 men, or 12 men, I will send you, I will return with, what they said, 12 pairs of testicles, and we will watch together as your girls swallow them.
Yeah.
And then she remembers who he is.
She remembers who he is, and then she leaves. Yeah, she remembers he's not no bitch boy that she can just intimidate with threats. Well, first she tries to seduce him with her women, with her women, with herself, which is like her main tool of persuasion, I guess. And then when he's unmoved by that, she moves on to threats of violence, and he is still unmoved. Yeah. I mean, that's the kind of guy you're dealing with.
That's the joy of the show. That's the joy of the show.
Even when he confronts the head of the East India Company, and they do everything they can to intimidate him and bully him, and it doesn't work. Nothing. It's like throwing pebbles at a giant.
Yeah.
It's fascinating and also funny to see like these various characters try to intimidate or threaten or harass Tom Hardy, and Tom Hardy is like, I ain't even mad.
Yeah, it's like that feeling of like watching the people that are being the intimidators like start to become intimidated themselves without the other person even trying. Like, it's just like no effort. That feeling, that tension that comes from that's what the magic of the show is. So I'm really looking forward to watching more. I got another episode on my DVR already lined up. But yeah, that brings our discussion of our shows to an end for this week. So last thing I'm going to talk about what's coming up in the next week. This is something we did on the podcast before, but I stopped because I was doing a video newscast. I'm not going to be doing that anymore. It's a lot of work. Didn't really get a lot of results on it. Didn't really think I was adding anything interesting to the story with what I was doing. So we're kind of, as always, we're exploring new ways to kind of present news or to present anything on this site. So I've got some other ideas going for that. In the meantime, though, I'm going to announce what's coming up in the next week as far as TV shows that are coming back or debuting. So tomorrow, or by the time this podcast is up, it'll be today, and it already is today for you. Voltron comes back to Netflix, and Frontier debuts on Netflix. Now, Frontier looks kind of similar to Taboo, except it's Jason Momoa instead of Tom Hardy.
Yeah.
So now I got to go check that out. I don't think it's not exactly the same, but it's kind of like a big scary guy, like as the protagonist, basically. On Sunday, January 22nd, 2017, Mercy Street comes back to PBS. But everything really starts kicking off that next week. Monday, January 23rd, Supergirl. Tuesday, January 24th, The Outsiders comes back to WGN. Legends of Tomorrow and The Flash come back, and Terrace House comes back to Netflix. Wednesday is Arrow comes back, as well as The Path on Hulu, Suits, and I think the one that you and I are probably most excited about, The Magicians, comes back to Sci-Fi. So I'm really looking forward to that. Can't wait to talk about that show again. We might be talking about the first episode of season 2 on the next podcast. Not sure because we record on Thursdays and that episode's on Wednesday. We'll see. We'll see if we can manage to time it right. If we don't talk about it on the next podcast, we'll talk about it on the podcast afterwards, because I think Will and I are both really excited to talk about The Magicians again.
Right.
And then on Thursday, January 26th, Supernatural returns, but it's also the debut of Riverdale, which is the Greg Berlanti produced Twin Peaks-esque take on Archie, which is just weird. It actually looks pretty good. I'm definitely going to check it out. It looks like they're going for all the kind of right weird vibes. They're not going for that weird campiness that Twin Peaks had.
Right.
So I don't know. They're not going to get the Twin Peaks tone exactly.
I think this is going to be a very much a CW take on Twin Peaks. It's also worth noting this is also a Berlanti show.
Yes.
So just like Supergirl, Flash, Arrow, Legends of Tomorrow, Berlanti's other CW shows, I think you can expect some of that in this. I mean, this is definitely going to be totally different than anything else he's doing on that network, because they're trying to emulate Twin Peaks.
They're going for darker, yeah.
I think you could still expect a certain level of campiness, just because like all of his shows to date have campiness to them. So I can't see this not being campy in some way.
Berlanti's like the new super producer, because not only does he have all those Arrowverse shows and this, but he also has Blind Spot on NBC, and he has some other projects in development already, I think. So it's like, he's like what Carlton Cuse was doing like last year, where Carlton Cuse was like suddenly had like 50 shows in development. That's like Berlanti. He pretty much owns the CW. He's the Shonda Rhimes of the CW.
Yeah, he's Shonda Rhimes of the CW. All he had to do was get Warner Brothers and DC to agree to give him the keys to their kingdom, and then he took over the CW.
We definitely will not be talking about Riverdale next week, just because that doesn't air until we're recording the podcast. So it's just not going to line up for that. Might talk about it the week afterwards, not sure. Not going to promise on that one. We'll promise that we will talk about The Magicians at some point or another. Until then, I am at Tyson Gifford on Twitter. Will is at Voxel Hero on Twitter. You can check out our Facebook page, our YouTube channel, as well as our site, TVEnthusiast.com. You can subscribe to the podcast through any major podcast client like iTunes or Pocket Cast. Just look up TV Enthusiast. And the entire backlog of our podcast is available on our YouTube channel, as well as other video content. Although I am no longer going to be doing the week's news, because I'm going to find another outlet for news. notes on the site. But thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Night.
Night.
If you would like to voice your opinion, send an email to theweeklyset@TVEnthusiast.com. TV Enthusiast is a part of the Enthusiast Media Network. Stay tuned to TV Enthusiast and the Weekly Set podcast for more coverage of all of your